Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from my desert bunker in Palm Desert, California. That's pretty redundant. That's two deserts. Didn't need to say all that. With me is 99 World Cup winner Saskia Weber. On time this time is Instagram sensation Omar Zeenni, known as Pro GK Academy. And joining us, I'm totally going to butcher your name, Fred, is BISP Cruzeiro goalkeeping director Fred Bragalia. Did I say it right?
Bragaglia. Yeah.
That's a tongue twister, isn't it? A little
Yeah,
bit.
it's hard. Not that easy. It's Italy.
Oh,
Italy.
it's Italian.
Yeah,
oh, okay. So it's Italian. Okay.
So
So
stop saying it like in another accent.
there,
You gotta
there,
get the Italian in there.
there are so many Italians that are in Brazil, right? Like that's like a big, huge population out there, right?
Yeah, a lot of Europeans, not just guys from Italy, but from Germany as well and Holland. Yeah, big community there.
Yeah. Now, by the way, for everybody who's familiar out here with what's going on with the rating, reviewing, and subscribing, and you go, oh, you know what? I don't have the 10 seconds to go on and rate, review, and subscribe for the podcast. Well, guess what? Fred did have the 10 seconds to rate, review, and subscribe on the podcast. And he left a review, and I was like, who's this? There's this goalkeeper coach who's listening to us in Brazil. And then we bring you up with Aline Reis, and she's like, oh, Fred Bragalia is he's a big time goalkeeper coach. And I was like, wait, what? And then I look it up and I was like, oh my gosh, we need to have Fred on the show. So that's what happens, guys. When you leave your review, we search you, we find out who you are, and we go, you know what? Now we need to have you on the show. So that's how Fred ended up on the show, man. So thank you for doing that. First off, man, that means a lot to us.
Dreams come true, eh? if you listen and you want to participate, you need to interact, you know?
Exactly. No, but that's actually a really good point in regards to just the goalkeeping community in general. Like we just want to, the more people that we were talking about this earlier off the air, is that the more goalkeeper coaches and goalkeepers that we talk to around the world, the stronger just our knowledge base is going to be, right?
For sure. Yes.
And our mafia and our goalkeeper community. I probably shouldn't have said that with the Italian thing, but but it's amazing. And like you said, like now we're all meeting, you know, and you know, whether we're talking with somebody in Germany or this, that, the other, it just makes our community so much tighter and so much smaller. It's been amazing.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. And so before we get into today's episode, guys, today's topic today is going to be positional awareness outside of the box. For those of you guys who are not familiar with Fred's work, and by the way, man, I thought Omar had a lot of videos online. You've got, 150 videos, training sessions online? I was like, man, there's no way I can go through all of these before we do the thing. You guys definitely have to check those out. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about kind of like the Cruzeiro, like their kind of goalkeeping philosophy and what you guys kind of do with the academy and all that?
Yeah, I have a lot of videos there. I started really early with this idea. I don't know if I was the first one, but for sure not. But I started doing to help my keepers and use that way to save the videos, to save my my exercise as well, because sometimes you change laptop and phones and you miss the sessions, you know.
Yeah.
And you used to write on a book, but you changed like I used to coach in Thailand, China, and now I'm in Philippines, and you always lose the papers. And I say, oh, I'm gonna keep the exercise there. And when I need to do something similar, I just go there and double check that session that I really like to run with the keepers, you know.
I mean,
like you.
No, go ahead. This is your episode, man. You keep talking.
No, don't worry. Like you said, I coach in Thailand for almost 4 years, and after that I moved to China and I stayed there 1 year in China, and now I'm in Philippines. But we did a really good job there in Thailand with the Cruzeiro, the big club in Brazil. We used to have a partnership there. The program is still running there with Jonathan and Eder and all the coaches. Now the program is really huge there. They have 4 coaches now and a lot of players and sending players everywhere. You know, we used to have a player from Washington as well, Levi. And they used to give a scholarship for the players, and they can live inside the campus. They can study and play in the same time. It's amazing for them.
That's awesome, man. So you have literally players from all over the world coming to these different academies that Cruzeiro has set up around, and in Asia, in China and the Philippines, and you actually had some of those. So some of those kids are coming over from the actual academy in Brazil to get more training, right?
Yes, the players that struggling in sessions there in Thailand, they can run at least eight to 9 sessions per week. It's a lot of time, you know. It's good for the player that used to practice twice a week and don't play on the weekends. There they can practice a lot. They're gonna have at least 1 game per week. They don't have a lot of competitions, but they do a lot of friendly games and go to Portugal, Spain, and Malaysia to play tournaments. That's amazing.
Dude, that's awesome. As Omar has what is that? Is that a picture of Fred striking a volley behind you?
Sure is. It sure is.
No,
Just type his name into Google and you'll find a lot of stuff. So there's one of the pictures.
Those are great. Those are great, man. So let's just get into today's topic, guys. Let's do it. Today's topic, like I said, possessional awareness outside of the box. Earlier on, Fred, we were talking about how, at least in the United States, for the longest time when it came to goalkeeper training, goalkeeper coaching, everyone was just more focused on what was going on inside the 18, and specifically around the goal mouth area. Now, as the game has completely changed, as goalkeepers are more adept with their feet, a lot more involved in the attack, but also in regards to playing defensively a little higher up the field, our understanding and our ability to be aware of where we are outside of the box is extremely important. So in your opinion, like what areas do you consider outside of the traditional box?
I used to coach my keepers. We have 3 spaces. The first space is behind the defensive, the back 4, the back 3, or whatever, how the coach they used to play. The space behind the defenders, the 18 box space, and the goal. I tell them you need to protect the space behind the defenders, the space near the 18 box, and protect the goal. That's the 3 spaces that I used to teach them to start understand about the game.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk about this. So like, Omar, like I know you have been pretty big proponent in regards to understanding of your environment, understanding your area, as opposed to just, understanding where you are from an angle play standpoint, from a shot stopping standpoint. So in your opinion, like what is like one of the most important places for the goalkeeper to understand their role in?
I think it just depends. We talk about the team tactics, and I think understanding what the coach wants from you, understanding if you guys play a high line and your team presses a lot, maybe you should be a little bit higher off the line as well. So just having that open communication, that line of communication with the first team coach to us as the goalkeeper coaches, and how we can implement that into our sessions. And then once we implement those key, I guess, characteristics that the coach wants from our goalkeepers, then we ask the coaches, hey, can we also, provide a type of structural session that allows these goalkeepers to continuously see the same exact environments over and over and over. And I think from there, through trial and error, your goalkeepers will understand what they need to cover, what the spacing is, what their vision needs to be, what their starting points are. So I think it's, as long as there is a collaborative effort from top to bottom, I think that'll help the goalkeepers understand what's needed of them. And I think the more information that we can provide to our goalkeepers at a young age, or even in a team setting, the better information they're going to have to understand where all those little points that I just mentioned should be.
Yeah. I think Saskia, one of the things that, we've talked about quite a bit is that like you need to understand like why you're doing something.
Absolutely.
And why you're doing something. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see with a lot of goalkeepers, we even talked about it with Bree on the episode on Monday, is just chilling, arms folded, no idea what their role is in regards to based on how the team is playing.
Right.
And this happens all the time. I just see players, because coaches go, hey, get out of the box, go up and help your team. But that's so vague. Like nobody knows what that means. Like, so how can we as goalkeeper coaches help them understand, like, okay, where you have to understand where you are in relation to your team, even outside the box. Like you're far away from the goal. You can't be thinking about that goal. You got to be thinking about your what's in front of you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about the other day, and like that awareness and seeing what's going on. You can't just play one way. You can't just play, hey, I play a high line, and any team I go to, they're just going to work the ball through me, and that's the way I play. Like, every team, every coach has a different philosophy, and so and a different formation and everything. So you have to understand why you're doing it in the context of your team. It's not an individual choice. It's, if we're playing, the team is looking to play through me and we're playing a 3-back, then, where's my line and why? If we're playing, a 4-back, then where's my line and why? It's not just, this is my way and the highway. Yeah. And so you have to be educated. You have to.
No, Fred, I want to, go ahead, Omar.
Just want to add on to that. What Saskia is saying is really important, because I remember even in my college season this past year, there was a time where I was doing an in possession and out of possession drill, where I wanted the goalkeepers to get multiple looks and have multiple actions in the same exact setting. So it was like you check for a back pass, or you cross the ball, they catch it, they roll it out to the person who crossed it, they check underneath outside of the 6 and a little bit closer to the edge of the 18. They receive either one touch or 2-touch clearance, and once they do that, the drill is over. So I put them through those sessions, and then obviously it's the modern game, right? And then in the game, our goalkeeper loves to play with his feet, and even in his film, he has him playing with his feet extensively. So our coach knew what he was getting himself into. And there was a time where he checked outside the box, almost like 20 yards away, probably right outside the 18 for a back pass. They hit it to him. He kicks it straight out of bounds. And, had he kept it in bounds, I don't think my coach should have said anything. But because he hit it out of bounds, my coach looks at me, he says, everything you're doing with these goalkeepers is wrong. That's not the way we play. Do not have them asking for the ball outside the 18. I don't need that. I don't want that. There's too much of an issue for me, and you need to make sure that you adjust those sessions. I don't want that. So again, I had to go away from what the modern game was and what the modern game was asking to fulfill what our coach wanted and what he wanted and what he saw from each goalkeeper in the roster. And again, to me, I have to almost abide by what he's saying, because if I keep feeding them the wrong environments and the wrong things, and those goalkeepers are looking to get those back passes, which our coach doesn't want, then those kids are going to be in a really bad position, a really bad mental state. If our coach says, Omar, I'm not going to play that guy if he keeps doing that. Does that make sense? So like if I'm force feeding that in sessions, which I think most coaches would in terms of where the modern game is now, and I'm doing a disservice to them by using that as my way of kind of doing what I want versus what the coach wants and what the team needs.
Yeah, I wouldn't bring that up with Fred, because I was watching your sessions and just understanding just the philosophy of Brazilian goalkeeping in general. There seems to be an attitude towards, we want the goalkeeper to be as involved in that situation as possible. We encourage the ball to be played back to the goalkeeper in that situation because it adds so many more dimensions for us. So how do you help your goalkeepers be connected to that line? Or is it just something that they're just kind of ingrained in them because they're so used to doing it over and over again?
Yes, Omar said about the head coach on this club. I had the same problem in China as well. I had a coach that he just loves to play long ball, but the keeper, they didn't have the strength to do this long ball, And I tell them, we're not going to do it. The coach wants to do it that, but I'm going to teach you how to play short because you don't have the strength. And you're not going to hit the ball in the middle of the field, and the coach is going to be mad with you. But like Omar said, we need to understand the philosophy of the head coach to adapt our sessions. But if you talk about youth performance, you cannot take this work out of the goalies. They need to understand it. They need to know how to play short as well, because in 1 year or 2 years, the head coach can change, and they're not going to be able to adapt quickly to play. And if some better goalkeeper come, they're going to take the spot of that keeper that used to play for that team for a long time,
No, Fred, that's what I was saying. Number one, 100%. Our keepers have to be able to adapt to any situation. So if because the coach is going to change, because you're going to change teams and everything, and you have to have the tools in your toolbox to say, okay, now we are playing a high line, or now the coach wants me to hit long balls. You got to be able to do it all. You have to be able to understand why, like we said, and be able to adapt and do it.
Yeah. I think one of the problems that I see a lot of times personally is that because of these types of coaching scenarios, a lot of goalkeepers, young goalkeepers especially, they get scared when they're outside of their box. It's not, they don't feel comfortable outside of their box, because a lot of times what's happening with a lot of youth teams, what is the coach yelling? Get back in your box. Get back in your box. You know, don't take chances. Don't take risks. But as we talked about in the last episode, the only way for these goalkeepers to become comfortable in higher positions up the field is to allow them the experience to do this at training right now as the youth players. Because the only reason that Ederson and Allison and all those guys can do what they can do at that Premier League level is because coaches allowed them, right, Fred, at 10, 11 to experiment, right?
Like, to reply your question that you asked before, in Brazil, on the youth academies, we use a lot the keeper to build the game, to do the transitions, defensive transition, offensive transitions. But at the first league in Brazil, only 4 or 5 clubs that propose the game. That's really hard, because for us as a coach, because the goalkeepers, they move to Europe, for example, and the guys say, oh, now Alisson is playing so well with his foot. No, because in Brazil he didn't play, because the coach, they don't want to expose the team, they don't want to lose, because in Brazil, if you lose 3-4 games on the Premier League in Brazil, they're gonna fire the head coach. They don't want to take that risk, you know. But as a goalkeeper coach, our community in Brazil, we used to practice with them at least the technique, you know, the game, understand the easy things to do it, because it's not that hard to build the goal, to build the goal with the goalkeeper. It's not that hard. I tell the keepers it's easy. When you understand the formation of your team, how your team is gonna build with 2 CDMs or with wide and depth and stuff like that, it's easy. Control the ball, move the ball, circulate the ball, find the pass, and it's easy. With 1 month, 2 months of practice, you're gonna be able to at least start from the back.
Yeah, one thing, I was watching one of your videos, and you were actually doing a goalkeeper build-up session where the goalkeepers were literally near towards the end line. They were literally out towards the end line, and they were helping build. And I'll be honest with you, in the United States, I don't know about you two here, I rarely see goalkeeper coaches working on such advanced positions for a goalkeeper to be in a supportive role for their team.
I used to, can I say first?
Yeah, no, of course. This is your episode, man.
No, it's fine. I used to do that because if you don't have a really good quality keeper with his feet, I used to take him out of the goal, because if he commits some mistake like ball control and something like that, he's not going to concede the goal, because the ball going to go out. And as an extra number, if you pass the ball to the defender, if the goalkeeper shows up there, he's going to do the offensive cover. It's going to be the fullback and the center back plus two players, you know, going to be 3 vs 2. You're going to help them to keep the ball possession there, and after they can find the space to move that ball forward or to the other side.
Yeah. Now I want to bring up this now here, and we talked about this, you know, to both of you two in the last episode in regards to goalkeepers getting caught in transition and not understanding how to get back in the box, you know, how to drop, how to stay high, all those sorts of things. You know, why, Omar, I want to bring this to you, for instance, because I've seen this a lot in regards to you were talking about with the goalkeeper, you know, high, and like, we don't want to involve that goalkeeper. We don't want to involve that goalkeeper. Do you think a lot of that has to do with just like, because a lot of goalkeepers get caught or exposed when the ball's played back to them so high?
No, I think I think what Fred was saying is that it goes to a point where obviously some coaches sometimes are playing for results, and the less amount of attention they can give on their goalkeepers, or the less amount of, I guess, the more peace of mind they can have, the better. So I think a lot of the coaches exert their personality and what their job security is and all that stuff that sometimes comes to the forefront. But I think for the most part, the coaches that I know who have seen goalkeepers be successful with their feet have kind of been a little bit more lenient. So I think it's sometimes us as coaches, I mean, for me at least, it's been more of like, we'll continue to work on it, like Fred said, so you're not losing that sharpness with the ball at your feet, because we all know there's going to be times where the goalkeeper needs to get us out of a jam, and showing for the ball, even if they don't receive it, at least the forward is coming towards you and you're tracking one of those guys, then it opens up our center midfielder to receive a pass and we can play out the other way. So I think as long as we can show our coach through, whether it's data, through film, that it's a necessary, not a skill set, but a necessary thing for our goalkeeper to continuously do without having the outside influence of don't do this, don't do that. As long as they can continue to play off their instinct, I think we can show our coaches that it's actually beneficial, then I think they're going to turn our way. And I've had that before where the coaches have said, you know what, no, you're right. I've seen this actually happen. And maybe we don't have him receive the ball every time, but we at least tell our defenders that Alex, who was our goalkeeper, he's going to show. He may not be the option you guys want to play, but he's going to give us a decoy, and then from there we can play out the other way. So I think it's the peace of mind for coaches that just maybe have job security issues, have had experiences in the past where the goalkeeper gets caught out through transitional play or the back pass isn't strong enough, and now the whole team is having to transition back. Whatever the case may be, but as long as we as goalkeeper coaches can show our coaches through film, through data, through statistics that it's a necessary skill set for our goalkeepers to acquire and to use, then I think they don't really have many other options other than to not follow suit, but to be a little bit more open to it.
Yeah, I love one thing that Fred said in regards to, when you train them, when you teach them how to be comfortable in possession outside of their box, there's less risk because they're not so close. So if the ball goes underneath on their foot, it's not going to go through the goal into the goal or anything like that. Which made me kind of think of like rondos and things. And like, Saskia, I know you had brought this up in the past in regards to like, you like your goalkeepers to do possession drills with the field players.
Well, yeah, and I think that to answer the question you asked, actually, Michael, is that I think that if they're attached to that, then you're going to find they're not going to be out of position because they're constantly reading the game. You're not going to run into that thing where somebody is standing. They're not like, we're not talking about professional goalkeepers and stuff. Some of them. Yeah. But because you're playing that, because you're in constant support, you're constantly reading the game. You're constantly tied in, whether you get the ball or not. And so, I love my keepers to do possession and everything because I want, number one, I want the team to feel comfortable with passing the ball back to them as well. And that's a big thing as well. Some backs are not comfortable. And probably because, the goalkeeper or the past goalkeeper has proven that they're not very solid with their feet. But the more you play through your keeper and look at them in that situation, just like another player, then the comfort is there and it's relaxed and stuff. But like I said, to answer your question, I think that you'll probably find they won't be as out of position or able to recover faster because they're so locked in on the situation.
Yeah, one thing I've recognized about myself is one of the reasons that I felt I was very uncomfortable playing high like that with high pressure on me in possession is because I did not do enough of that work as a youth player. I did not do enough of, being chased and having to play quick and having to receive the ball. So I think that's extremely, extremely important for our goalkeepers to do that.
Mike, one quick thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think something that I've noticed through the quarantine and something that I've definitely started to think about with my own sessions is my recovery movements and how I have my goalkeepers recover, not just in small spaces, but in large spaces. So those transitional moments where those balls come over the top, and I don't think we train it personally. I don't train it enough where the goalkeeper is dropping from the top of the 18 or even the top of the D, recovering back to the line and then trying to set while the striker is, advancing with the ball. Because I think too many times I just have them set from the middle and then step to the angle and then from the angle, then more central. So I only keep it in a very small circumference. Versus now my mindset is, okay, how can I really allow them to see the muscle memory of their legs recovering back to their line, properly setting, readjusting to any, short passes around the 18. So, I think that's another big thing as well is understanding or showing the goalkeepers those pictures of how can we recover back to our line? How can you set on the move? And then how can we become like how can we be, optimizing our shot stopping ability when we're recovering in large spaces?
Yeah, I want to bring that actually up back to Fred. I was watching one of your presentations that you did. By the way, you had some awesome ones up there, man. If only I spoke Portuguese, I would.
I need to
even more.
translate it.
But you were showing, and it was really making me think about what Omar was saying about limited space and about expanding our mind for lack of a better term, to how big the field is. And how involved the goalkeeper can be. Yeah, exactly. How involved the goalkeeper can be. And you were showcasing how Ter Stegen can literally be 25 yards away from goal and completely involved in the activity, and yet there's still no danger to any sort of counter ball being played that's going to break and score, because he can recover at the drop of a hat and cover that distance. And his team also understands how to drop into positions to help support him if he does get caught. And I think that's extremely important for goalkeeper coaches to work with their team coaches. And I know a lot of us, at least in the States, you know, we have a lot of goalkeepers and we don't have as much connection with the team coaches, but we need to do a better job of that, because otherwise we can't work on these types of scenarios, really, you know? So I want to ask you, Fred, is that something that came from you, or is that something that came through your upbringing to really work on those goalkeepers really spreading themselves?
When I used to play, I didn't play much, but I had the opportunity to play in Portugal as well. And then there they used to use the keep a lot. And when I moved back to Brazil, I stopped playing, and I said, I need to help these keepers to just don't play here in Brazil, but to play in Europe, keep going, you know, send good keepers everywhere, like we have today in Spain, Portugal, England. And
Dude, you yourself have a guy in Benfica. I mean, come on, man, you're big time there.
Pedro, yeah, was one of the 5 keepers that I helped, that I gave them my scholarship to study in Thailand and practice as well. He was one of the keepers that got, I think, one of the best offers. Né? He went to Benfica. Now he signed a 3 years pro contract with Benfica. He's really good. I think they got him because he know how to use his feet a lot. Inside the goal, he's amazing, but outside the 18, he can use his left foot, his right foot, and we practice a lot. It was 2 years in Brazil with him on my academy. He used to play for Cruzeiro there in Brazil and do extra sessions with me and Lincoln. That's the co-founder of the LF as well. And then, yeah, he moved there. He stayed there 2 years. He went twice to Portugal to do an international tournament. And then we made him like a highlights, and he went there for a tryout, and he made it. It was amazing. We have a Filipino goalkeeper as well that I gave him a scholarship. Now he's playing for the national team as well. It's really good. I'm very happy.
Yeah,
with these guys.
Go ahead, Omar.
No, so I was so based off of what we're talking about and understanding that, like, you know, our goalkeepers need to be problem solvers, and when they're playing out of the box, and we talk about it with Tim Dittmer, Mike, about preventative goalkeeping, kind of understanding situations and what's happening prior to the situations happening, so you can kind of diffuse the fires before they even, you know, come to fruition. And one thing I was talking to recently with Tom Wheel, who's the director or the academy director at Norwich City, he was saying that one time he had a goalkeeper who, technique-wise, he wasn't very good, but his reading of the game was second to none. That's why he was incredible. But his sessions were all technique-based, so it was almost exposing this goalkeeper to look like a shell of himself. So he said, you know what, let me dial it back a little bit. Let me make it a little bit more game realistic and make everything not to his strengths, but let's see where his mind goes in certain situations. So for us as coaches, it's very similar to what Tom was saying, is about how can we create problem solvers if we don't create problems for them to solve. And I think that is, again, talking about the limited space and having them recover from deep, you know, positions and keeping it as realistic as we possibly can with in and out of possession, game realistic sessions. So I think that is, again, I put it back to myself of a test to myself of how can I create my sessions to be as game realistic as we can, but to really try and simulate those movements so these goalkeepers know exactly what to do when those situations are presented in games.
Yeah. I was going to say this, Saskia, did you ever, when you were, you know, playing obviously at the national team level and the professional level, did you guys ever use the rope to showcase kind of your alignment with the rest of your back line or anything like that? You guys never did that? That seems to be something that, Fred, you ever use that rope?
That goes on what Omar said. If you do that, you're going to take the game understanding, the decision making of the goalkeeper, you know, because someone going to pull him. He's not going to go in because he wants to go there, you know. I don't agree. I don't agree with that. But if someone do that, it's fine.
It's trial and error. You know, I said this before, Mike. You have to allow the keepers to figure this out themselves, to understand their own positioning. Like, I agree with you totally, Fred. If you're pulling somebody into the space, that doesn't mean they're not understanding it. You're just putting them in the space.
Like Mike, Omar said, sorry, like Omar
So
said about the ideas of the sessions, how you build the sessions. I don't believe that if you just run a very like session like related with the game, but the keeper they don't have the technique, they're gonna get frustrated. I think you need to read your keeper first, see what he has now and what you can do to help him. After that, you're gonna it's like a build a building, you know, go from the bottom, like get the technique first. After you can introduce one guy to do the pressure on him, and he can improve his control, understand the channels there between the two defenders and etc. I think you need to go from the easy to the hardest one to don't get frustrated as a goalkeeper coach as well, because you're gonna plan a nice session, and when the keeper gonna run the session, you're gonna be, oh my god, what I'm doing here, you know, you're gonna get frustrated as well. You need to read correctly your keeper to help him like nice and slow, and I think it's the best way to do it.
Yeah, that was reminding me in regards to what you guys were just saying about, spoon feeding when you were talking about, and everyone here, when the rope was brought up, the negative attitude that was brought up towards it. I was like, okay, well, I think I just used a trigger word here. But it is understandable, because it's the same thing as Omar was talking about, doing activities in isolation or just showing kids shadow play, basically formations. Well, I can't tell you how many goalkeepers I've seen in sessions do great with their feet. Put them in the game, they cannot improvise at all.
But that is a head coach problem as well, because
Absolutely.
I don't think it's just our job to do everything. We can create a lot of good sessions with the other keepers, because sometimes you have 5-6 keepers in the same session, but sometimes you don't have the space as well to do it. You know, you're just gonna go on that small side there, and the coach gonna use the entire field. You're not gonna have space. And the other point is, you need to have the interaction with the head coach. If you don't want to help you as well, you're not gonna help the keepers.
I was
You
about
know,
to
he
say,
need to
nice
build
to know
sessions to help just the
goalkeepers.
keeper. Of
Yeah.
course, he can help the defenders, the strikers, but you need to do like a 7-6 building from the back with the keeper. Did wrong, start again and start again and start again and start again.
See, I see that's something that's been a big issue, and obviously, Fred, we talked off air about just American goalkeeping and American goalkeeper training, and how one of the things that you had enjoyed was seeing how things are done in the United States, or how things are done in Asia, and that's what fascinated you about you moving over to Asia with the program. A big issue here in the United States in our youth level is that our head coaches don't involve their goalkeepers into their sessions enough. They send their goalkeepers to training with us, and then they come back and they don't utilize their goalkeepers properly. They only utilize their goalkeeper for shot stopping situations, or to start the play in any sort of small-sided games that they're doing. And I think that's something that I don't know if it's something that we can necessarily solve, other than just keep stressing to the coach how you're only coaching 10 of your players. You're not coaching all 11 of your players.
Yeah.
And how can you have a full team when you're doing that?
That's why I quit China after 10 months. I told the guy, sorry, I can't do that anymore, because if you don't have that conversation between you and the head coach, the work's not gonna go well, because it's more than 11 players as well. You need to use the second keeper, because one day you're gonna use the second keeper. If he's not ready as well, gonna cause problem for you and for the club as well. And we need that communication. We need that interaction between the staff, And in Brazil, in 2014, everybody realized that, oh my God, we need a good keeper after the German thing, what that happened with us. I think in US, maybe that's when the World Cup come back here, I think they're going to realize how important it is to have a good keeper that can work in all moments and phases of the game, They're going to realize that it's really important to have a goalkeeper coach as well. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's a whole other conversation in regards to. I don't know, Fred, if you know this, but in the United States, we do not have a goalkeeping federation goalkeeping license, national goalkeeping license.
I did one in the United Soccer, something like that. I said,
United Soccer Coaches.
Yeah,
yeah.
I did the license just to. We always learn something for sure, And
Yeah.
it's very weird here because they do the goalkeeper license after all the license, like really expensive as well. If you want to do B, C, I know the goalkeeper coach need to have a really good knowledge about the game. In Asia, what they do, you do the C license, and after that, you're gonna be able to do the goalkeeper level 1. But here, I searched that you need to have the A license to do the goalkeeper license. How come? How are you gonna build good keepers that the coach needs to do all the license you get there? You know.
Well, I think there needs to be two different types of courses. I think there needs to be a course, and I mean, and I know I was actually speaking to, I think it was actually a professional coach. I think it was John Pasquarella, JP, last week, and I said, oh, well, we gotta, what we need a course where, head team coaches, it's a goalkeeping license course for team coaches. He says it's never going to happen. He says you're never going to convince team coaches to spend a week of their vacation learning how to teach the goalkeeper. It's never going to happen. So it's always going to be a toss up. Let's speak a little bit more on some positive stuff here. One thing that I think is not as common, and I'm always surprised on why this isn't something that comes across more. I see it a little bit more in Latin America. I don't know how it is in Brazil. It's the goalkeeper that recognizes any sort of pressure or risk and decides to this is obviously not in a pass back situation, dribble the ball back into their box and then pick up the ball. Is this something that any of you three ever actually teach, or is this something that's more instinctual with goalkeepers? Anyone?
I'm gonna go first.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go.
Go
First.
ahead.
You do it. You do it, Fred.
I don't teach them. I think they need to understand that if they have, but if you have the space, to play with your feet, why are you gonna go inside the box? Just if you like want to waste time, for example, you do it that. But I don't teach them. I think it's like very normal things. Like they're gonna get that experience during the play time, but if you have time and you have the ball on your feet, you don't need to go back to the box. Just circulate the ball and find a good option and play, keep playing, or just wait for the other team push up again and you can and play again. It's like Ter Stegen, he always do, he attack the space with the ball, wait for the other team to get set, and he find a better pass and break the lines.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you have the time to turn and dribble the ball into the box, and you have plenty of time to look high and get a good service in or find your open back or something. I mean,
but yeah, well, I don't want anyone to think
really
that, like,
encourage anybody turning their back on the field and dribbling back towards their own box.
Look, I'm not saying I don't want anyone to think who's doing a session with me later virtually that's what we're going to be doing, a training session.
I'm telling you, Mike, we're going to start a whole side thing of weird things Mike wants to coach.
The shelf. What was the thing you were saying? The bookshelf that I was telling people to look it up.
What was on the bookshelf?
But I think, like,
go, Omar.
For me, like personally growing up, I don't think I ever had anybody, like we learned how to play with our feet and that was it. It was more of like, okay, let me show you guys how, this is what we want, bypass maybe the first option, go to the second option, say play around, through, or over, right? So those little things we definitely learned. But I think you just need to be, I say the word student of the game. And I think all of us, like you have to be a student of the game and be watching, like if you're watching Allison play, you're watching Ederson play, like understand that what they're doing, it took years and years of practice to be comfortable at the ball at their feet. So for me, it was always understanding and watching like professional goalkeepers and when they took their risks. So then in my head, I had a little bit of data. Then the next thing is, okay, where's their starting point where, they play the ball short? Like Osvaldo Sanchez from Mexico, he always played the ball short. And I always asked my uncle, I said, why does Mexico always play the ball short and they don't go long? He's like, Omar, could be the 90th minute. They're not playing it long. They're going to play it short because that's what they were taught. So now you see where Osvaldo Sanchez, he gets the ball, he lays it off, then he shows underneath because that's how he creates space. So then I'm like 14 years old and I'm hearing that and I go, okay, so if I ever lay a ball off, maybe that's what I'm going to do as well. So that's like all these little data points that I don't think a lot of kids do these days. If they don't watch enough sports, I don't think they don't watch enough soccer on TV. If they watch it, they just watch it for fun. They don't actually watch to see starting points, like coaching points, tactical things. And I think that is really hurting them once they step onto the field. And like Fred and Saskia were saying, is that we can only do so much as coaches. A lot of what is going to be asked of these goalkeepers is going to be them in an isolated position by themselves with no one else other than themselves having to think for themselves and to fend off whatever pressures are coming. So I really hope that in this quarantine, kids have been watching games to understand that when that ball comes back to you, you need to learn how to scan the field. You need to understand that when that 6 from the other team has the ball, what pictures are you taking and what are you thinking can happen once he gets the ball? Oh, you see a runner coming from your left side of your peripheral. Oh, maybe you want to cheat up a little bit just in case that ball needs to be, cut off by you. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different things that a lot of kids need to understand, and that comes from watching themselves in games, watching professional goalkeepers in games, and then us as goalkeeper coaches putting them through those scenarios where they're almost being forced to make those tough decisions.
I think one of the tough things, and Fred, I don't know if it's different in Brazil or in Asia, but I think one of the difficult things is that there's such a culture of trying to make things entertaining, make it entertaining, it's got to be. Look, I mean, I'm not saying you don't want soccer to be fun, but at the same time, like when I was watching, your breakdowns of Ter Stegen and Neuer, not the most exciting, thing, but if you're a 16, 17-year-old aspiring professional, like that's more important for you to watch that than to watch his top hand, saves, right?
I think the goalkeeper, they need to love to, because like you said, it's not, if you don't love, you're not going to watch a session. You're not going to watch highlights. You need to love the position, you need to love the game. And like Omar said, the big problem as a goalkeeper is because the media and the camera on the game, when you watch at home, they don't focus on the goalie, and it's too close to the players that you don't have the idea of the situation, and that's a huge problem that I prefer watch a live game than stay at home watching a game. I prefer go to watch under 13 games or 15 than stay home and watch like a Barcelona game, because you don't get the idea. You need to go to the scouting website and try to find a game in a different position that you can watch the goalkeeper,
Wait, did you just bring up Y Scout? I love Y Scout. So if you I love watching those scouting tapes, man. They always make fun of me for that, but I'm always sending them clips.
It is the best way to send to the kids. What I do, I'm already like more than 8 years recording keepers, that I have the keepers playing from the back, doing the transitions as well. I get my keepers, the youth keepers, and I get the professional keepers, and I combine the video and show them, look, everything that happens there on the pro side is going to happen with you, just with some different power, and the pitch will be different. You need to read that situation, but it's the same thing. It's the same game. If you understand that, you're going to perform well.
I think you just brought up something really good. That's something Saskia brings up all the time. And I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but she is right, because she's like, it's not a different, it's the same game. It's the same game, so don't try to overcomplicate things. Don't try to make it more than it is. It's the same game.
Yeah.
And you see it's sometimes this is also something that happens the opposite way, where things that work at the youth level, coaches start trying to overcomplicate it at the higher levels, when they don't need to. When if it was working there, there's no need to change it. So I think we just need to really, and that was one thing I really liked when I was watching some of your sessions, is when you were doing the cognitive work, it wasn't like insane, crazy stuff. It was simple, making your brain think, but at the same time, simple reactive work at the same time.
Yeah, we cannot, like I told you, we cannot build a really like tough session, like high level session for under 13 or 15 keeper, because he's not ready yet. If you give that to him, he's gonna get embarrassed in the training, and maybe gonna commit a lot of mistakes there, and the session not gonna run well.
Yeah.
Like Omar said as well, this new generation, they don't watch football. They just want to be on Instagram and WhatsApp and stuff like that. YouTube, it's really hard.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Omar.
No, one of the things I think something for me, at least when I was younger, is understanding, like, just being self-aware and understanding that I'm a very slow goalkeeper. Like my initial first 2 steps are very, very slow. So I realized, I've actually heard parents when I was like 13 or 12 years old, they said, okay, just play the ball over the top. The goalkeeper's too slow. There's no way he's coming off his line to intercept this pass.
Jeez,
and I'll tell you, I played against some brutal parents, dude. Some very ruthless people.
Gosh.
And I remember them saying that. And then again, from watching games, I just love the game so much that I would have conversations with my dad, my grandparents, my uncle, and I would just say, hey, like, I'm a little slow off my line, and you guys have seen me in games. How can I improve that? And then my uncle, he played professionally in Mexico, and he was like, you need to just have a higher starting point. Like if you feel like you want to be involved and cut off things over the top, just have a higher starting point so there's less space for you to cover. And then I said, oh, okay, that's actually really cool. That's actually really smart. So at like 13, I started probably most of my starting position would be on the top of the D on the 18. And I would just have like a staggered stance, like almost a sprinter stance, so that I could, shift the weight to my front foot and then be on the front foot, or shift my weight to the back foot and recover back to my line. So I think I even said it in one of my podcasts. I said that like I had to get to a point where I needed to manipulate the game so that it worked out for my strengths and not expose my weaknesses. And I think, again, when we make our coaching points to goalkeepers, we have to understand that there's different personalities, different strengths, different weaknesses. And one starting point for one goalkeeper for cutting off a entry pass or ball over the top can be completely different for somebody else. And I'm pretty sure, Saskia, I know you were athletic as all can be. So I'm pretty sure your starting point was way deeper than mine may have been, or maybe even a little bit more advanced, because you could get back to your line. So I don't know. Do you feel like, I hope my points are making sense, but I don't know. I'm sure that, yeah.
No, but we talked about that the other day. It's not one way. One way is the right way. Like everybody's different. Like, so you were slow, so we have to manipulate your starting point and your positioning. But it's like that. Somebody's a little shorter, Mike. Like everything like that. Everything factors in. Yes, I could start deeper because I was very fast off my line. El gato. So it was like, I could do that. I could also play a little higher on shots off my line because of my ability to like carry a ball or jump and like kind of more like it's an Howard. But it's not the same for everybody.
Yeah, but can you do that dance move again? What was that, El Gato?
I don't even know what I did. I just like.
Let me just say hi here. Pedro is watching us. The keeper that moved to Benfica.
Hey Pedro, what's up, man? This is the kid at Benfica, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I hope he's gonna go to the Portuguese national team soon.
Dude.
Congratulations, that's awesome.
Fred, man, I mean, it's amazing. Sometimes it's so funny because we talk about this and we joke around. We're like, wonder who's listening to this, and then you find out who listens to the show, man. It's really cool to see, people worldwide wanting to learn more about goalkeeping, from everyone there.
Just to complete here, Omar said about the weakness and the strong part of the goalkeeper. Like I always tell the keepers, if you don't know how to use your left foot to do like short or long balls, control the ball properly, and the ball gonna go to your good foot, and you can do the job, still do the job. Of course, I'm gonna practice with them to use both, but to solve the problem in the game on the short time, you can adapt yourself to perform well.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I want to talk about this right now because this is something that really scares a lot of youth keepers. And by youth keepers, I mean me. I am scared to death about it. Throw-ins. Whenever goalkeepers are activated into being the first player on a throw-in to receive the ball, I've seen so many young goalkeepers deer in the headlights. Like, we've never worked on this before. Like, how do I do this? Why are they playing me the ball? I thought they're always going to play the ball up the field. I literally saw it with a youth game not that long ago where a kid was a guest player. He had never played with this team before, and it was a little bit higher level team than the team that he was used to. And on the throw-in, guy plays the ball back to the goalkeeper, and he's like, "What are you doing? I've never seen this before." So, is there any advice that you guys give goalkeepers who get kind of stuck in this situation to, handle it properly? Fred, do you ever train this, by the way? Do you ever train the goalkeeper receiving the throw-in?
Not using the sidelines to do that, but I always throw the balls to the keepers in different ways that they can improve the ball control. Can use the chest, the thigh, inside foot, outside foot to do the first good touch and move the ball. I always help them because I know as well some center backs, they just want to pass the ball to the keeper, but they don't look sometimes. You just send the ball,
Yeah.
In small-sided game, it happens all the time. So, somebody picks up the ball, they want to go out the other side, they throw it into the keeper, and they go out the other side. So, if you're utilizing that option in a small-sided game, don't, understand, we've worked on it with club and stuff like that. Go support, and expect if they're going to play through, you're going to have the time, you're the one that sees how it feels, and it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think one of the things is that a lot of goalkeepers, and I mean at a lot of different levels, is they think when there's the reset on the goal, on the throw in, I'm not involved. I'm
It's
not
always
involved in
going
the.
forward.
It's always going forward, or I'm not, or even if
Yeah.
it goes laterally, that it's not going to me. So I'm, once the ball's back in play, now I'm involved again.
But it's such an
Yeah,
easy way to change the point of attack. So
Yeah.
I'm like, this is like one reason why, like, so I on my episodes that I've been doing, like, I've been really trying to focus in on the coaches' experiences and why they teach certain things and how they adapted their own experiences from their playing career to their coaching style. And that's been something for me where I've been like trying to kind of understand why I used to do certain things. And I don't know if you guys can relate, but I had really bad, like I had ADD. So my attention was
Is this
through the roof.
episode about you just talking about how all these awful traits you had?
No, but so I had ADD. I'll get to my point. It'll make sense. So I had ADD. So I had attention deficit disorder, and because of that, I had to find ways to stay involved in the game. So that turned into, okay, well, I like to talk a lot. So how can I stay involved? Well, my communication is one, and I love the ball at my feet, or I love playing and being involved, so that I don't get loss of focus. So I really needed to get better with my feet and then get better with my communication. So that's when literally every time the ball was out of bounds or my left back or right back got the ball, I was like, okay, how can I be involved? How can I communicate to get this pass back? So I would always show. So even a throw in, for example, I would, every time the ball went out for a throw in, I wouldn't check off. I would go, you know what? How can I get this ball? And I would drop off to the angle. Saskia said, receive it, and then just switch the field. So I would always try to be involved, and I think it was because I didn't want to lose focus. So again, I think it's to each their own, and everybody has their personalities and why they do
with
things.
The game is easier to keep the attention of the keeper.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's I think a really good point. I love, Saskia, what you said about it's the easiest way to change the point of attack.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Come back, back around. I mean,
No, I know. But it's amazing to me because I even think just back to myself in regards to how when I've been put in that situation when I was a goalkeeper, I didn't think of it that way. I thought of it as an emergency play.
And so they would put it to you and you just put it up or something like that instead of calming down, taking a touch, and going out the other side.
Yeah, I wasn't on the U.S. national team, so So I love Saskia's like it's that easy. It's like changing the point of attack. You just play a simple 35-yard laser. It's not that hard, guys. I don't know what's so difficult about that. Winning crosses in the air.
What I tell the keepers that when the ball move like halfway, they need to start looking to the other players. Like if your team lose the ball, if the ball is near to his feet, he's not gonna send a long ball behind you. If the ball is like 1 or 2 meters far from him and nobody's pressing the ball, that's the time you need to drop. They need to understand that after the ball move like halfway, they become a defenders now. They need to read the game with different ideas,
Yeah.
If they're gonna get caught.
I mean, I think it's important. First of all, like think about like forcing that ball into that situation, that throwing up the line, that throwing laterally, forcing it. If the ball's been over there for a while, if you drop deep and receive the ball back and your outside back drops, then you're out of the situation. Instead of just like, it's not my problem. Just keep throwing it into the soup, So.
No, I completely agree. And it's making me think of a new training session to do. So any kids that are training with me, get scared. So,
Mike, what I would say though, I think it goes back to the point of when, like Fred just said, we almost turn into defenders, and we need to understand that once they're 6, their left back or anybody who's in a position that has a little bit of time to look up and find a pass, right when that 6, for example, we don't press that high, but right when that 6 gets the ball and he turns, right away in your head, you should have a mental checklist of what options they could potentially have. Okay, ball over the top, a runner coming from the left, runner coming from the right. So that should trigger your starting points. And once that is triggered, then from there you have the best position possible to now make a decision.
How many strikers between the defenders? They need to read. If they don't have any strikers there, how they don't gonna pass? They're gonna shoot. You need to drop. You need to run back. They need to have that.
Exactly. And that's what I mean, though. I think a lot of it is accountability and kind of a buy-in from the players. Because, I mean, we can always obviously coach that. But, again, in reality, limited space for coaches, if, we're being honest about that. If you're not in a professional environment, you don't really necessarily get the full field. So it's difficult to train, okay, the six got the ball. What are we going to do next? So I think it's important, again, for those kids to self-reflect and understand the game a little bit more. So even go into like a coaching course to see or even like a tactics course for players, for field players, and see, okay, when this team tries to build out of the back, when Pep Guardiola tries to dribble out of the back, when they beat our first line of attack and Gundogan or one of those guys in the middle is receiving that pass, okay, now we're a little bit stretched out, so maybe I should be a little bit higher because the next pass may be coming over the top because we have no pressure on the ball. You know what I mean? So like understanding the tactical approaches from teams, and then from there, now you're in the best position to get a good starting point just in case you need to thwart out any danger.
Saskia, how do you do that with youth players? Because obviously what we're talking about right here is very profound in regards to it being involved in the play and understanding your spacing. A lot of layers. How do we keep it simple for them? Because you work with a lot of youth.
It's just that. Just keep it simple. Like, I'm serious. Like you just you have to build everything. You have to build confidence with their positioning, with their footwork, with their own team playing through them, and that takes time. Putting them in different drills, like you said, I love putting my keepers into like rondos, and stuff like that, because it's important that they get that quick touch, but that the other team feels comfortable with them. It's steps, and and the more they see it, and the more you progress with it, then it becomes second nature, and they know what to do. It's not like all of a sudden going from 0 to 100. Oh, by the way, you've never done this before, and now you're doing this and that and play through it. Like, it doesn't work that way, especially with young players. You have to build it. Confidence.
I think you brought up something right there that I had never thought about before. But when you're doing those rondos with those young keepers, if the field players start recognizing them being comfortable in those games, then they're going to have a –
They're not gonna press the keeper there. This guy know how to play. I'm not gonna waste my energy going there.
Yeah, they're not gonna worry. Yeah, they're not gonna worry about it. They'll be like, oh, whatever, here.
And and that changes the whole way you can play with your team, because of that simple mindset of those young kids already going like, I know I can play that dude, and I know he knows what he's doing, so I don't have to babysit him, quote unquote, make sure he doesn't mess up.
You also don't have to second guess it. That takes out a split second in your game.
Man, you guys just blew my mind right now.
One of the head coaches that I used to have in Thailand, Jonathan, he always said, give the confidence to the keeper first, and after we press him, he's gonna get too much confidence with the ball, and we press and try to win the ball, and it happens sometimes.
Then you get those goalkeepers. All of a sudden, they're now so confident that they're playing these balls like I don't know if you saw the episode on Monday, Fred, where Omar had a U17 Barcelona keeper who played a ball. What was it? There were 6 guys on the top of the 18.
He tried to thread that needle.
Omar, no videos today.
Keepers, don't use your skills. Just play simple, because if something happens,
then your head coach is looking at you at the end of the bench.
But they get so confident that they used to do it,
Yeah.
They did it with me, like in Brazil and in Thailand, like dribbling and stuff like that. Never like bad things happen, thanks God. But I always tell them, don't do it. Play simple and sharp. And
it's true, and I totally agree with you, Fred. What happens is there arises this level of stupidity and arrogance. and here's the deal. I don't care how good you are with your feet and how much we utilize you, you're still not that good.
Yeah, if you are really good with your feet, you should be playing as a number 10. Not as
you're
a
still not a number 10.
You're number one.
Exactly. So bending the ball through 3 people up the middle on a goal kick or on a back pass is not the best idea. Play simple. Play simple, please.
Try watch the Real Sociedad, the goalkeeper. I forgot his name. I think Romero or something like that. He has amazing passing through breaking the first line there, like chipping the ball over the strikers. He's amazing. I say, oh my God. But
yeah, but you probably sit on the bench like, oh my God.
Well,
Really good.
and I know we've been going for about an hour now, so we're going to start wrapping this up right here. But one thing that I always love is just the goalkeepers, and you see this especially at the youth levels. The goalkeepers just decide to I'm just going to go dribble. I'm just going to go dribble. Like this is my opportunity. I've got the ball at my feet now, and I'm just going to dribble around here. And then all of a sudden, then a player comes at them, and they try to do like the Cruyff turn and everything, and then the whole parents on the sideline go like, no, because they know exactly what's coming right now. They're like, just no, give that to somebody else who can dribble. Like, please just don't do that.
Yeah. And again, it goes with the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
saw
think
a lot of mistakes with the Cruyff turn. Oh my God.
With the quarter.
but I think a lot of that has to go with it. Like goalkeepers need to understand how to play with their feet as a goalkeeper, just like a center back needs to know how to play with their feet as a center back. You're not a 10 right now in the game. Maybe you can play the 10, but not right.
It.
You're not in that. I don't know, Omar.
The ball
Omar
control is different. They need to understand that they need to control the ball different from a number 10, different from a CDM.
Yeah.
You know, the ball control is different. I always tell them, put direction on the ball. Don't let the ball stop. If the ball stop, you're gonna like scare, I don't know, and you're gonna mess up. You know.
Yeah, and guess what? You lose the ball.
Yeah.
Got big old nets behind you.
Yeah. And you're gonna cry after.
Yeah. not the CDM or something.
and I always try to bring up the fact that, you know, the more touches you take, the less you're helping your team. Like every touch should have a purpose. So if you're just touching the ball just to touch the ball and dribble around, like you're not doing anything.
It's the same concept. Like you know, obviously field players. The more you're dribbling around the ball, everybody's closing in on you and closing the space, and you're making it worse for your team. You're the goalkeeper. 1-2 out. That's it.
Yep.
And he not used to have that ball for that long time and get some block. He blocked his mind like, oh my God, what I'm doing.
And then it's all caught under their feet, and they're it's just a debacle.
Well, while we wrap up here, guys, does anybody here have any advice for any young goalkeeper coaches out there who are starting to work with goalkeepers to become comfortable playing outside of their box? Any just little words of wisdom?
I would just say, I like what everybody said, and Omar always says this is, you know, don't just knock balls into somebody outside the box, have 1-2 touch it and pass it out the other side. You've got to put young keepers and all keepers into a game-like situation. You have to have somebody coming out them. You have to have them have to change their decision-making as you progress with the training. Like we could just knock balls back and forth to people all the time, but once you put them in a pressure situation, that's when they're trying to do the Cruyff turn and not knowing what they're doing. Like, it's got to be simple and show them why. Give them the visual. Let them get the ball ticked from them and put in the back of the net. Let people punish them for holding the ball too long, making bad decisions, going the wrong direction, not seeing the field.
Yeah.
You
Omar,
just gotta learn if you commit mistakes. If you never, what's happening in Brazil sometimes, the youth teams, the big teams like Cruzeiro, Atletico, Flamengo, they are really good. And the keeper sometimes they don't touch the ball in the game, you know. And when they have a hard game, they struggle because the ball goes to the goal all the time, and they're not used to have that pressure, you know.
Yeah. Omar, any final words?
Like they've been saying, it's just like, you know, the progressions. I think it's important to develop the technique early on in your sessions and early on in the development phase. But once that technique is gone, or not once that technique is gone, but once the technique is fine-tuned, then you start adding a little bit more realistic stuff. Because I do think that the Cruyff turns, yes, while they are probably leading off a bad, you know, prep touch and you have to, you know, escape out of it, I still think that that's useful because now they're problem solving and they're able to use their technique and they're able to fall back on something to get themselves out of trouble. So I do think that's still useful if they can get. So
Omar's got a Cruyff turn session coming up soon.
Cruyff turns for goalkeepers. Let's see it.
No, but I do like that.
You said just step by step.
Yep.
Yeah.
Step by step.
Simple to the complex. Don't cross, like, you know, try to do a Cruyff turn, you don't know how to control the ball, you know.
Exactly. Most of the time, you see like a Manuel Neuer, like those big time guys, get into those situations where the Cruyff turn is needed because they're in emergency situations. And I think we talk about it with social media. We talk about it with highlights nowadays. They only show you the highlights that they want to show you that are going to get the views. And the ones that get the views are the ones that the goalkeepers are making emergency block saves, or making things out of context. And young kids, again, when you watch these kind of videos, making sure that you understand that a lot of this stuff is not reality, and a lot of this stuff is only is because of the scenario. So again, as coaches, we need to do a good job as well to present that information and show the goalkeepers exactly what our points are, and then from there we line that up with what we do in our sessions.
Yeah, I always blame the guys in Brazil. Sometimes they show some things not gonna help the keepers as well, not gonna help the goalkeepers as well, because the kids, they watch these things on the internet today, they want to put in practice in the game. It's like on the session, it's not like that, because you saw on a good page that we're gonna start doing this stuff, just some small details that happen in one game on his life, and you're not gonna use that. You're gonna keep the basics,
But that's why I want to give both you guys a shout out right here on the air right now, both you, Fred, and Omar, because you guys are content creators. You guys are constantly putting up drills and sessions up there, and you guys put up the full session. You guys put up a lot of the full progression. You guys don't just put up like the final picture and go like, oh, there you go. And that's what we just did today. You go, no. Here's how we warmed up. Here's how we got to the second part. Here's how the third part. And obviously I understand it's difficult on Instagram and, and TikTok, you don't have a lot of time. I really hope you're not doing goalkeeper sessions on TikTok. That's probably.
I don't have that. Thanks.
No, but Mike, I just released a session a few days ago, and it was on crossing, and I left almost like we had so much dialogue, the goalkeeper and I, because he's one of those kids who just loves to talk and loves to, gain different perspectives. So I left. I mean, again, it wasn't going to garner many views, I didn't think. So I just left it in there. And I got probably 10 messages from young kids. Like, thank you so much for letting us know what's going on in Noah's head, letting us understand why he made those certain decisions. And for you guys to show us those conversations, it felt like we were there. And to me, that was all I cared about. I was just like, you know what? I'd rather have people gain information and gain knowledge and have questions that are being presented from a goalkeeper within a session, because it's not like it's inorganic. It's like it happened, and that's the initial reaction, and not that we're reflecting on it, but initially what he thought. And though that information is like, okay, wow, I had that exact same thought of. A kid even asked me, like, you're talking about steering, Omar, but my coaches are telling me not to use my fists. But what can I use? I'm like, well, use a combination of your palm and fist, and this is what it looks like when it's used properly. And I show them the film, and now they're like, oh my God, now I know what the situation is presenting and what I could do if I ever find myself in that situation. So I think it's important to show the full session, but also showing those conversations that you and your goalkeepers have, because I know a lot of coaches and goalkeepers have the same thoughts in their own sessions.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna start wrapping this up right now. So, Fred, thanks for taking all the time, man. And I guess you said dreams do come true. You got to experience.
Good, man. I appreciate the opportunity. It's always good to share our knowledge and learn with you guys. And if you need anything, just let me know. We're gonna keep talking, and like I tell my friends, if we start talking about goalkeeper, gonna take like 5 hours, 10 hours.
Absolutely. And we have to reel it in sometimes.
Oh my gosh, you have no idea. Like just pulling the curtain behind. Let's just say sometimes I get some text messages from people and go like, hey, you know what, you guys have been going for a while now.
I
left and went to dinner and came back. He's still talking.
Oh yeah, the reason why I think Fred is like a dreams come true is because he didn't tell you guys he's a huge Rutgers fan, the '90s women's Rutgers. Yeah, so I think that's why he's excited to be on.
You're so foolish. I'm like, what? And 96, you're being nice to me right now, Omar, because it was 96.
And I gotta brush up on my Portuguese so I can go on Fred's show. That's what I gotta do.
Yeah.
So
we used to do some live videos on our Instagram as well, and LF Academia de Goleiro. That's our goalkeeper academy in Brazil.
You guys get some big names on there too. You guys get some pretty good names.
Good Brazilian keeper now playing for his International de Milan bought him, but now he's in Spain as well. We have some good keepers that going through like under 17, 20, good new keepers.
See, now you just got to find the Brazilian Omar, the Brazilian Saskia, and we just do like a copycat show.
There you
go. What's inside the 18 in Portuguese?
Dentro da área, né? Dentro da área. The 18, the box they call area.
Area. Okay.
Yeah.
Inside the area.
inside the area.
Inside
Inside the area, yes.
Inside.
Look, I speak fluent Portuguese now.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to another country and you're like, hey, that looks a lot like the show I watch in my country. I'm like, oh, it is that show. They just changed the hosts. All right, guys. Fred, if anybody wants to reach out to you, they want to know more about what you do with Cruzeiro Academy, or any goalkeeper coaches looking for advice, or anyone who's just wants to improve their Portuguese, where's the best place for them to reach out?
I'm on Facebook. I don't use Facebook as often now because of Instagram. I'm more on Instagram and YouTube. Just search my name, Fred Bragaglia, and send me a message. I'm gonna be more than happy to help you guys to improve, to see your highlights and help you to, make your video better. I don't know. Just always be here, open to help the keepers and goalkeeper coaches as well that need some advice or need to understand how we coaching, how Brazil it is, and stuff like that.
Yeah. And obviously you guys can reach out to Saskia Weber at Saskia_Weber, and Omar Zeenni at, I'm not going to do the joke, at ProGK Academy _. We've retired that joke.
We had a discussion.
We did. We had a discussion. Contact at insidethe18media.com. That's the number 18media.com. If you have a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion, reach out to us on social media at Goalkeeper Podcast. And if you want to be considered for potentially being on the show, write a review, guys. Not that hard. Takes 10 seconds.
Fred.
Yep, like Fred. That's going to be our new slogan. Just write a review like Fred, and you could be on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly. All right, guys, that's all the time on Inside the 18. We are out. Later.